For the Pope and All My English Friends by Anna von Reitz. I struggled for 40-plus years to find all the playing pieces, stood back, looked at the history, knew what was going on and who was doing what in what capacity, and then logically, according to Maxim of Law, as a thing is bound, so it is unbound, hit the reboot button. They began this process by seizing upon our lawful person, our given name, and trafficking it into the foreign international jurisdiction of the sea and thence into the even more foreign realm of global commerce. So, I began the reversal by seizing up my own given name, and trafficking it back to the international jurisdiction of the land, permanently domiciling it on the land and soil jurisdiction of my state would be the county and province most places on earth, expatriating from all foreign citizenship obligations conferred on my good name, and then seizing upon all the related names and issuing a certificate of assumed names and trafficking them back and permanently domiciling them on the land and soil of my state of the Union. This is all a process exactly like reflagging a vessel. Pretend that you buy a sailboat in Greece named the Jolly Ann and it is registered in Spain. You can sail that boat anywhere on earth, and it will still be under Spanish law until you change its registration. So you, coming from England, might want to change that, and take it to the British agencies in charge of registering vessels, and you might then reflag your sailboat as a British vessel operating under the law of Great Britain, and presto. You are now internationally identified as a British sailboat and globally recognized as a UK sailboat, instead of a Spanish sailboat, and you are sailing under British law, instead of Spanish law. This is the same kind of process. I was born as an American, one of the natural-born people of Wisconsin. The Queen's agents operating the hospital where I was born as a disguised military facility, see Territorial Title 37, that illegally conscripted American doctors offered under force to register my given name. They didn't disclose the end result of this to my mother, and she unknowingly signed me over as a ward of their territorial state-of-state commercial corporation. So, my proper name, was misidentified almost from birth as a U.S. citizen and a chattel property owned and operated like any other vessel at sea by the British Crown Corporation. They subsequently copyrighted my given name in breach of trust and subjected me to British territorial statutory law. So I am rightfully an American state national, a Wisconsinite, but as a result of this primary breach of trust and fraud against me, I have been misidentified and sailing around the world as a British territorial United States vessel. My identity has been stolen, in exactly the same way that a credit card hacker steals identities. There is just one other twist to this particular story. The British Commonwealth of Puerto Rico operates under Spanish law, which still allows them to impose the Inquisition on all vessels registered in Puerto Rico. This creates a backdoor for the Pope to profit from this identity theft, too, and also a means for the Holy Roman Empire to get its claws into innocent people worldwide. So, after the first fraud and breach of trust by the Queen's disguised agents, they created a Roman inferior trust benefiting the Pope and named it after my stolen proper name. They removed this Sestuike Vi trust operated as Anna Maria Riezinger to Puerto Rico and registered it there. Now this leaves me with a British vessel operating as a franchise of the British Crown Corporation under British territorial law, registered to a British territorial state-of-state doing business as the State of Wisconsin, and a Puerto Rican vessel operated by the Holy Roman Empire under Spanish law, also drifting around, and all of this is happening via a process of totally unconscionable and undisclosed contract, without my knowledge, and against my will. Totally non-consensual. I never knew a thing about any of this skullduggery being done for me by undisclosed foreign, British, territorial agents. And there is absolutely no plausible reason, other than pure profit and self-interest, for any of this to have taken place. As an American, I didn't ever need or want any of their international or commercial franchises to operate my business interests, because my State of the Union, Wisconsin, is perfectly intact and competent to float my boats as American vessels. The British territorial United States is under contract to provide me and my State of the Union with good faith service under the actual territorial constitution ratified in 1789, and the British monarch is under contract as a result of the Treaties of Versailles 1778 to 1784, Treaties of Westminster 1784 to 1794, and Definitive Treaty of Peace, Paris 1783, to act as my trustee on the high seas and navigable inland waterways. Like evil Uncle Ernie, the Queen has been caught diddling the children, making contracts with infants, trafficking us into the foreign international jurisdiction of the sea, and then letting her bar attorneys pillage and plunder us under false pretenses, and letting her bankers salvage our estates under the same outrageous false pretenses. Then, using our own delegated powers against us, and again, in gross breach of trust and criminality, she has ordered her territorial workers to keep mum about all of this, 18 U.S.C. 472, in an effort to ensure that all these false claims and all this chicanery would never be discovered, and if it was discovered, the people who knew could not talk about it. And all the Americans bound up in this scheme were told it was a matter of national security and not to be questioned, they just weren't told which nation was securing itself. And the popes, who are supposed to be our trustees in the global jurisdiction of commerce, have not been a bit better. Oh, no, they jumped on the bandwagon, and their only objection to all this fraud and racketeering and identity theft has been to demand a cut of the action. The same thing has been done to people worldwide. The Queen created and condoned this system in Britain, too, and orchestrated it while sitting in the chair of the estates, instead of the British throne. By rights, they all ought to be taken out and shot, and they know it, which makes them desperate and unwilling to come to an accommodation, because that would admit their guilt. It would also divest them of a large portion of their ill-gotten wealth. I have been repeatedly asked, what do I want? What do I want? I want what most people want. I want my freedom, control of my own life and assets, and to be left alone. I am not offering to cause anyone any harm, but by the same token, I have not donated my assets to the British Crown. I want this identity theft and fraud and all these false claims in commerce to stop. I want those responsible for this situation to disgorge the profits from it back to the people who have been harmed by it. And I want peace and a normal course of business from now on. Since disgorging the profits all at once would cause chaos and devalue the assets, I have directed them to convert the debt system into a credit system and begin paying everyone on Earth a basic living stipend equivalent to $2,000 in local currency per month per person. I have also told them to issue an equivalent $1,000 in local currency per month per person as an investment credit that people can use to make investments of their own in any peaceful business enterprise, with the principal and the profits becoming available to them for their use upon reaching the retirement age of 60. Those of us who have been defrauded and suffered and who will not be able to benefit from the long-term enactment of this remedy are owed the return of every penny we have paid into fraudulent mortgages, federal income taxes paid by people who were never actually federal citizens or employees or dependents, federal pension contributions, Social Security, etc. by people who were never actually federal employees, property taxes on our own property, etc., all to be calculated and returned to us with reasonable interest as completely non-taxable dividend earnings. Any service, such as medical services under SSI and Medicare, and all insurances that we are owed, will continue to be owed together with free pharmaceuticals and physical therapy and hospice care, full boat. Everyone on Earth has more than enough reason to demand such reasonable settlement of their personal accounts. As for our national accounts owed to, for example, our actual states of the Union, they need to similarly be paid off and accounted for in a forthright and proper manner, allocated to our state trusts, and passed through to provide infrastructure and environmental remediation and long-term care taking and management of natural resources, not including people as natural resources, thank you very much, that belong to the people of each state. And no, we are not fooled by the carbon tax fraud in the making. We will not be diapering our cows anytime soon. Please take the fake treaty agreeing to carbon taxes being proposed by the commercial corporations involved, and have a nice bonfire as it passes into the dustbin of history. Please hit subscribe, like, share, embed, and get ready for many more Anna von Reitz videos.